Your garden survived the summer heat. It pushed through the autumn winds. And now, as temperatures drop and frost creeps across the soil, everything you've nurtured faces its greatest test. Winter doesn't ask permission. It arrives with killing frosts, desiccating winds, and months of dormancy that can either strengthen your plants or destroy them entirely. Here's what most gardeners get wrong. They think winter protection is about keeping plants warm. It isn't. Winter protection is about managing the stress of freeze-thaw cycles, preventing moisture loss, and ensuring root systems survive until spring. The gardeners who understand this simple truth are the ones whose gardens emerge vibrant and healthy when the snow melts. Everyone else starts over. Let me take you through what actually works. Not theories, not garden center marketing. Documented techniques that have protected plants for centuries, refined by modern horticultural science. Whether you're growing perennials, tender shrubs, or trying to overwinter vegetables, these methods will transform how you approach the coldest months of the year. First, understand what winter actually does to plants. The killing isn't usually from cold temperatures alone. Most hardy plants can survive remarkably low temperatures when they're properly dormant. The damage comes from rapid temperature fluctuations. When the soil freezes at night and thaws during warm afternoon sun, it creates a phenomenon called frost heaving. The ground literally pushes upward as ice crystals form, then settles back down as they melt. This action can tear roots apart and push shallow-rooted plants completely out of the soil. I've seen established perennials sitting on top of the ground in February, their root systems dangling in the air, killed not by cold but by the soil's constant movement. The solution is mulch, but not just any application of mulch. Timing matters enormously. Apply mulch too early in autumn, and you trap residual warmth in the soil. This delays dormancy and actually makes plants more vulnerable when hard freezes arrive. The ideal window is after the ground has frozen to a depth of about 2 inches, but before the severe cold sets in. In most temperate regions, this means late November through mid-December. You want to lock in that frozen state, preventing the thaw cycles that cause heaving. Use 3 to 4 inches of organic mulch around perennials and shrubs. Shredded leaves work excellently and cost nothing. Straw provides good insulation but can harbor rodents if applied too thickly. Wood chips decompose slowly and won't mat down under snow weight. Avoid piling mulch directly against stems and trunks. This creates moisture pockets that encourage fungal diseases and bark damage. Leave a 2-inch gap around the base of each plant, creating what gardeners call a mulch donut rather than a mulch volcano. Now let's talk about wind. Winter winds are brutally desiccating. They strip moisture from evergreen foliage faster than frozen roots can replace it. This creates a condition called winter burn, where needles and leaves turn brown and crispy despite adequate soil moisture. The plant essentially dies of thirst while surrounded by ice. Broadleaf evergreens like rhododendrons, hollies, and boxwoods are particularly vulnerable. Their large leaf surfaces lose moisture rapidly in cold, dry wind. Protect them with burlap screens positioned on the windward side. Don't wrap the burlap directly around the plant. This traps moisture against foliage and can cause more damage than it prevents. Instead, drive stakes into the ground and stretch burlap between them, creating a wind barrier about 6 inches away from the outer branches. Anti-desiccant sprays offer another layer of protection. These products coat leaves with a thin waxy film that reduces moisture loss. Apply them in late autumn when temperatures are above 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and no rain is expected for 24 hours. Reapply in midwinter during a warm spell if conditions have been particularly harsh. Research from Cornell University shows these sprays can reduce moisture loss by up to 80% in treated evergreens. Container plants face unique winter challenges. Roots in pots are far more exposed to cold than roots in the ground. A general rule states that container plants are hardy to about 2 zones warmer than their rated zone, so that's zone 5 perennial in your patio pot. It's really only hardy to zone 7 conditions when its roots are above ground. You have 3 options. Move containers into an unheated garage or shed where temperatures stay between 25 and 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Bury the pots up to their rims in garden soil, essentially turning them into in-ground plants for the winter. Or cluster containers together against a south-facing wall and surround them with bags of leaves or straw bales for insulation. For tender plants that you're determined to overwinter outdoors despite borderline hardiness, consider the technique of hilling. This involves mounding soil, mulch, or compost, 8 to 12 inches up the plant's crown before freeze-up. Roses are the classic candidate for hilling. The mounded material protects the graft union and lower canes, ensuring that even if upper growth dies back, the plant regenerates from protected buds come spring. Remove the mounding material gradually in early spring as temperatures moderate, taking about 2 weeks to fully expose the crown. Snow is actually your garden's friend, despite what intuition might suggest. A consistent snow cover provides remarkable insulation. Research shows that soil beneath 8 inches of snow stays close to 32 degrees Fahrenheit regardless of air temperature. That's the freezing point. True, but it's also stable. No heaving, no rapid temperature swings. The problem comes when snow melts and refreezes repeatedly, or when it arrives as a heavy wet mass that breaks branches and crushes perennials. After wet snow events, gently brush snow from shrubs and hedges using an upward sweeping motion. Shaking or beating branches risks snapping frozen wood. Protecting tender perennials and root vegetables in the ground requires a different approach. Carrots, parsnips, and leeks can overwinter in place under a thick layer of straw, provided you apply it before the ground freezes solid. Use at least 12 inches of straw, then cover with a tarp or row cover fabric weighted at the edges. This creates an insulated environment that keeps the soil around 30 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. You can harvest throughout winter by pulling back the covering, digging what you need, and replacing the protection immediately. Garlic planted in autumn needs winter cold to develop properly, but it benefits from mulching nonetheless. Apply 4 inches of straw or shredded leaves after the ground freezes. This prevents heaving and moderate soil temperature fluctuations that can damage developing cloves. Remove mulch gradually in spring as green shoots emerge. Established trees and shrubs rarely need winter protection, but young plantings are vulnerable for their first 2 or 3 winters. Wrap the trunks of young thin-barked trees like maples, fruit trees and lindens with commercial tree wrap or light-colored plastic guards. This prevents sunscald, a condition where winter sun heats the bark on south-facing sides during the day, activating cells that then freeze and die when temperatures plummet overnight. The damaged bark cracks and peels, creating entry points for disease and insects. Newly planted evergreens benefit from temporary shade structures on their south and west sides. This might seem counterintuitive, but reducing sun exposure during winter actually helps. It prevents the foliage from heating up and losing moisture, while roots remain frozen and unable to replenish water supplies. Here's what I want you to remember. Winter protection isn't about fighting nature. It's about working with natural processes to minimize the stresses that damage plants. Mulch to stabilize soil temperatures. Screen to reduce wind desiccation. Insulate containers and tender roots. Time your interventions to the soil's freeze-thaw cycle, rather than the calendar. The gardeners who succeed through winter aren't necessarily working harder than everyone else. They're working smarter. They understand that a few hours of preparation in late autumn can save months of disappointment and replacement costs come spring. Your plants are tougher than you think. They've evolved over millions of years to survive harsh conditions. Give them the right support, and they'll reward you with vigorous spring growth and years of garden enjoyment. Thanks for watching.